not comparing engineering undergrad to med school, but just meaning there's
No,
certainly
engineering is
those
really hard. You guys are really smart.
like, again, thank you so much. You know what, Lauren, we got what we needed. Thanks so much for being here, Dr. Fran. I'm Lizzie Nielsen. I spent my engineering career leading complex projects in healthcare and beyond, all while constantly learning and trying to stay human along the way. But there was a moment earlier in my career when someone told me I didn't have enough technical rigor. What does that even mean? And turns out I wasn't alone in that kind of experience. I've met so many women in STEM and other industries who've been made to feel the same way. Brilliant people with great instincts, deep skills, and real impact, still feeling like they're one misstep away from being seen as not enough. So I started this podcast to change that story. Welcome to Technical Rigor. Turns out, we've got plenty. Today, I'm joined by Dr. Franziska Haydanek, a board-certified ObGyn and medical director of obstetrics who moonlights as paging Dr. Fran, a content creator and online educator combating medical misinformation on her social media platforms and through her new podcast, I Did My Own Research. Her path into the medical field was shaped through family, job shadowing, long hours in the lab, and fitting wigs for cancer patients. Her rigor lies in the science and medicine realms of STEM, and she's probably dancing with the Grugrux King on her way to a 24-hour labor and delivery call. Welcome to Technical Rigor, Fran. I am so excited that you're here.
Lizzie, thank you for having me. It's an honor.
I do know a good bit of your story, but I'd love to hear it in your own words. Did you always see yourself in medicine?
I love that you were actually there for many parts of this journey. So
Me too.
I have kind of gone all over the place with this journey. In high school, I thought I wanted to be a doctor. I liked science. I liked chemistry. I liked biology. I came from a very, very small rural high school in Wisconsin. And so when I went to the University of Wisconsin and for college, I was very intimidated by that. And I immediately was like, no, I don't think I can compete with where I am now. So I didn't do science for 2 years. I did a lot of other things. I did integrated art classes and English classes and German classes and Spanish classes and French classes and everything but science.
I love that. Everything but science.
I literally not a single science class. And halfway through sophomore year, my dad sat me down and was like, listen, really cool that you got all these fun experiences, but you probably need to decide what you're doing with your life. So if there's anything that you could do, what would you do? And I said, I would be a doctor. And he said, how about you become a dentist? Because he is a doctor and he had a good friend who was a dentist. And he was like, being a dentist seems awesome. You should do that. So that winter break, I switched all my classes to science classes and signed up for chemistry and biology. And then I was pre-dental and I was pre-dental for about a year and I shadowed my own dentist and I was like, okay, science is cool. I like science, but I don't like dentistry. So then I was like, well, I guess I have to be a doctor now. So finished college, worked for 2 years in dose formulations and pharmaceutical development, got into medical school, did my 4 years of medical school, and then did match into OBGYN, did my 4 years of OBGYN residency, and then I've been working as an attending physician for the last 5 years now.
Incredible. I love the part of the dentistry thing because I love that you went to your dad, who was also a physician. He was like, because it wasn't anything about you can't do this. He was just like, I
Right.
don't know. Have you thought about dentistry? Like maybe just better hours?
Yes,
Like,
exactly. And it wasn't that he didn't think I could do,
of
like,
course.
medicine. It was just like, I'm in medicine and this is hard, and
Yes.
dentistry is 8 to 4, and that seems nice, so
Right. And so in this OBGYN, like, yes, you do the 24-hour calls, and there's certainly some unpredictability when we're talking about your pregnant patients.
Mhm.
Some of your kind of day-to-day does look like that clinical kind of 8 to whatever timing.
So I do see patients in the office probably, like, 2 to 3 days per week, so I'm seeing patients from 8:30 until 4, so that part is, like, very normal life, like, everyone else has to go to their job, I have to go to my job during the day. And then about 3 times per month, I do overnight calls as well, so I'll go from working in the office all day to covering in the hospital overnight, and then 1 weekend day per month, I'm also doing a 24-hour shift there. So for the most part, it is fairly normal, and then I have some weird hours thrown in.
Of course. Yeah. There's always something weird in any career, right?
Yeah.
So also with part of your journey in applying to medical school, because you're right, I was along for part of the ride. And I know that even just you getting to that point of your journey was really difficult. Could you share more about that as well?
I was not the most amazing student. I tried hard. My grades were like average and my MCAT score was average. And so I applied to medical school the first time and I don't think I got an interview the first time at all.
Wow.
But then the next year I applied again. I broadened where I applied to. I did get several interviews and then I was thrilled when I got accepted. I was going to go anywhere. So anywhere ended up being Erie, Pennsylvania.
Which you were like, okay, not on the bingo card, but this is going to work for me because it's getting me to my dream.
Yeah.
When you shared how you didn't even get an interview the first round of applying, how did you find that drive to keep going?
I was really sad. I felt really stuck in my life. I was at a job I didn't really like. I was in a relationship I wasn't thriving in. And so it was really hard for that when you didn't know what the future was going to hold. And the thing with the med school acceptance is that it completely changes the trajectory of your entire life. Once you get accepted, there's a very high likelihood that you finish the process. And that process is long, but at the end, you have a career where you have financial stability, you're doing the thing that you worked so hard for, you're really helping people in a way that you always wanted to. So it changes your life in a really, really big way. And I knew that and I really wanted that. And it was really hard when I didn't get that the first time I tried.
You were still able to see that future because you knew how much you wanted it, and you were like, This isn't just a passing, like, it'd be fun to be a doctor." There's the grief that comes with that of just like, "Well, shit.
Yeah.
This didn't go how I expected," but the ability to find it in yourself and probably talking with other people too, and having a dad at home that you could talk to about that too, of just like, "Hey, what do you what do you think about this?"
People tried to convince me to do other things. The boyfriend at the time was like, maybe you should be a PA. And I was like, I really know what I want to be. And what I really want to be is a physician. And I don't want to accept something different because I know that's not what I want. You should go to PA school because you want to be a PA. You shouldn't go to PA school because you couldn't become a physician. And so for me, I had to really continue to acknowledge that and know that this is the thing I wanted and this is the thing I was going to keep moving towards. And I don't know what I would have done if I didn't get in that second time. I would have figured something out. I would have done something eventually. I wasn't going to stay in that job that I didn't love, but I didn't know what it would have been if it wasn't that.
And so, of course, OBGYN, you thrived. What other places did you thrive in med school?
Ooh, I probably would have really liked parts of surgery.
Mhm.
If someone said, like, if you could do anything in medicine, I would say I would have really liked plastic surgery. I think it's very artistic. I think there's a lot of creativity. I would have also really liked, I think, cosmetic derm because I just love some skincare on a non-medical basis. So I think
Yes.
if you could just let me do some cosmetic derm all day, that would have been like a fun job to do. But OBGYN was kind of always the only thing that made the most sense for me. And as I've been doing this for 5 years as an attending. So really, I've been within OBGYN for 9 years. Every day, I'm still like so happy that I get to do this job. And I know that's not the norm for every physician. There's a lot of burnout in medicine because these jobs are incredibly hard. I just am so grateful that I haven't felt that because I don't know why, but I just am grateful that I
Mm.
haven't.
Yeah. I am surprised to hear that. I know that I've struggled with burnout for sure, and in very different ways. It just showed up in just dynamics that weren't quite right with leaders. It was never the engineering part of it or product design or any of that. It was usually more relationships that were just tenuous or just it
Mhm.
was like with oil and water. And so when I look back on my career for the times where I've struggled, it's really more the personal dynamics versus I was never burning out on the work itself because it's fascinating and it also is for people and designing and solving really hard problems. And I love that. So at least in that realm, have you had to deal with those more difficult personalities within your day to day?
In residency, for sure. I came into a residency with some senior residents who didn't like me, and that's, like, really hard because when you're a resident, you're working, like, 80 to 90-hour weeks. You're getting there at 4:30 in the morning, and you're not leaving until 7 PM, and you, like, run all day. You're in the operating room all day. You didn't get a single 5-second break to eat a sandwich other than walking down the hallway, and then to have someone who's supposed to be, like, your guiding person, like, actively dislike you and, like, make that very apparent really sucks. When you're like, "What did I do to you? I'm the new person. Why are you being such a terrible person to me?" I will say, like, I was not sad 1 second when they graduated and left because the second they left,
Mm,
the whole dynamics of the whole program got better, and it's like, "Wow, maybe it wasn't me, and maybe it was you, and I'm glad you're not here." But
yes.
I will say, I think that's part of the reason why I don't feel burnout right now is because the people I work with, we are such a great group of people who, like, work well together. There's not, like, a time where I, like, walk in and go, "Ugh, I don't wanna, like, talk to that person," or, like, "Ugh, so and so is gonna screw me over." I haven't felt that, and so that definitely does contribute, especially in any field of work where you have to work very closely with other people and continue the decisions that they had made, which is also another big thing. So, yeah, definitely have felt it in the past, but I feel very fortunate that that's not something that I feel currently.
Oh, that's so good to hear, and I'm also thinking about you're also very cognizant of, when it's July 1st and the new doctors are starting. You're so great about being like, "Okay, can we not have the content and the eye rolls of like, oh, look at these newbies, they're gonna be making all these mistakes." So, like, I do think that that has to play a part of it too, of like, you as a leader in your place of work wouldn't allow that from yourself, and you certainly wouldn't allow it from people around you. So, like, I have to imagine that that adds because when people are just eager to learn, right, they're all achieving their dreams.
Yeah.
And then if you just have people crushing them, just treating them like they're infantile, like,
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a symptom of burnout is that it's like an easy
true.
thing, right? Like they're tired, and yes, it is hard to work with new people every 12 months who come in, and you've been there for 30 years, and I get that. But you
Yeah.
have to think about what your own first day was like, and you always are going to have a first day at something. And so you want to reflect on that and how do you want to be welcomed? And that's how you welcome people. And I remember how I was welcomed or not welcomed. And I try hard to not do that to other people.
That's a really empathetic take because I think that in medicine, I bet it's a lot of, well, this is how it was when I came up.
Mhm.
I had to go through the ringer. I had to pay my dues. So, it's almost like the kind of just re-engagement of like, well, I had to suffer, so they need to suffer in the same way.
You really have to, not to be like breaking generational curses here, but like you do have to break that generational trauma. And, that's hard for me too, because I came from a very like old school program. I was definitely in more of the old school mentality. We were very much a hierarchy. It was very much like you are the intern, you will do this without like talking back. And nowadays, and in the place I work, it's different. And so I have to check myself sometimes and be like, was that the best? When
Mm,
I did it that way, was it the best way? And there were things that were not good about it. So that there were even things that we changed when I was a chief in my own program because we were like, listen, this is not the best for anyone. It's not the best for the patient. It's not the best for the resident. So we're going to change things. And so when I sometimes experience new ways of doing things, I have to go, do I not like this because it's different from how I was trained? And I think my way is the best way. Or do I not like this because it's like actually not the best way for
yes.
many other reasons? So, and I think a lot of physicians, because we go to our programs, you are trained by only a certain amount of people. So you only know kind of like your way of doing it because that's what you were taught. And once you go somewhere else, you're like, oh, there are actually many ways that you could do this. And that my singular way of learning it wasn't the only way.
I've always found that fascinating too about the medical field of how it's not like you just go to med school and you get your degree and then you're just like, here you are. It's like you are truly trained on the job and it continues. And at least like for my limited understanding, right? I understand that there are teaching hospitals and clinics, whereas like some are not as much so. And I'm sure that people decide where they want to work based on how much do I feel like I want to teach, I can teach. You are currently at a teaching clinic, is that correct?
Yep.
Have you ever had any interns or I mean, whether it was, like, in medical school through, today when you're teaching, like, have you had anyone seriously consider leaving or left the profession?
I had a friend leave who just was like this. I started this path and just went down it, and it wasn't for me. And then they, really have carved out a life that was right for them. And we've had residents who, for one reason or another, didn't finish and, are thriving in what they're doing now. Of course, those situations are hard. A big change in what you think your life is really, really difficult. But I find once you get through the difficult part, you realize like you're right where you're supposed to be.
And so it sounds like, at least in the situations that, you've had with friends or colleagues, it's that they were able to make the choice for themselves. It didn't feel like other elements within the field were making that decision for them.
Yes and no. Like I don't want to tell anyone else's stories, but there's yes and no. There are parts where they internally recognize like this is not right, and then there was other situations where we had to say like, listen, this is not the right space for you for these reasons, and let's find a space where you will thrive and like
Mm.
who you are and what your beliefs are and then what you want to do. So, and it's hard too, right? You get all this way through, you get through 4 years of medical school, you go through the entire match process. You might get a couple years into a program where you've spent thousands of hours working, and then for one reason or another, it's not what's going to happen in the end. And that's really hard. It's a lot to go through for those people because you thought, since you got that acceptance letter that that was your future,
Yeah.
that it has to change, and it's a hard thing to go through.
But I love that you don't just stop at this isn't for you. Good luck to you. I love that you then will sit down with them and be like, okay, like let's find what is a match for you, because it's not necessarily medicine as a whole is not for you. It's that perhaps the specialty is probably just not resonating in the way that, you expected it to. So how do you handle those kinds of conversations?
I think you just are a listening ear, right? First of all, they're going to have emotions about that, whether those are the right emotions or not. That's how they feel. And so I think you just have to sit with that and support them through those feelings. And then I'm a big brainstormer. So I want to sit there and like walk through all the options and like think out of the box and call on a friend and be like, hey, have you had this happen? What do you do? Like, what has worked for this person? Do you know anyone who can help with this situation? There's like a TikTok shop picture that you can buy to hang on your wall that says everything is figure outable. And that's my like new motto. We can figure anything out. We will figure it out. And sometimes people want that. And sometimes people are not in the figure it out phase yet. They just want to cry and be sad. And like, then you're a listening ear.
I love that. It's figure outable. It reminds me of the Mr. Rogers, if it's mentionable, it's manageable, which I also love. I have grown into that
Same.
in the last couple years through therapy. It's just so good that there is somebody like you to be there in those moments, because that's such a hard thing, because it's like your world is rocked.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
I relate to that because, I struggled with thinking about leaving engineering as a whole. And, I had this whole like, I'm a woman in STEM, I'm a woman in engineering. It was something that I pictured doing since I was in middle school, high school. And so when suddenly that future without it was in front of me, it was so scary. I was like, I don't even know who I am in all of the various ways I was able to work through that. It truly is like you go through kind of those 5 stages of grief of.
Well, it's so much a part of your life.
Mhm.
It's so much of who you are, right? Like when I was working in pharmaceutical development, I did not identify as a dose formulator.
You didn't have a bumper sticker?
No, I didn't it was just a job, and
Yes.
so it was paying the bills, but it wasn't, like, something that I had worked for and I felt passionate about and, like, really identified with, right? I didn't identify with that, and so if you have something like being an engineer, Lizzie and engineering have always been intertwined for my view of you. That's how I've always known you. Some people who their careers and the things that they do, part of it is that it has a title that everyone knows. They're so intertwined with who you are as a person, and they're your friends, and they're like what you enjoy, and then you make a podcast about it, and that's who you are, right? And so you then have to remove that part from you. They're like, well, if I'm not that person, I don't know who Lizzie is without the engineering. And that's all I've ever known. And that could be a good thing. Like there could be good
Mhm.
things that come out of that. But the transition is always hard.
Yeah, and, I did stay in engineering, spoiler alert, listeners. What also gave me peace, even as I decided to stay, was that even if I take a role that doesn't have engineer in the title, or I do something completely different someday, it doesn't erase the 15 years that I was an engineer.
Oh.
It also makes me think about my high school band director, Mr. Powers. He talked about how we didn't have flutes. And so, for whatever reason, a lot of flute players would play mellophone in our summer marching band.
That was me.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's right. I
Yeah,
forgot that you also did flute.
I did.
And so I forget what we were talking about, but I remember Mr. Powers saying, like, what's so cool about that is that it's not that you're a flute player who plays mellophone, you're a musician who plays flute and mellophone.
Wow.
I love that, and I feel like you're not just this one thing, and it's also not a problem to have broad interests and skills because it's not limiting you, and it doesn't make
Yeah.
you not something. So I feel like it's definitely like a similar thing. So I always love thinking about that, like, "Oh, no, you're a musician who does all of these things."
I think that's part of the reason that I feel like I am not in a state of burnout right now is because I'm not just a doctor. I have other things in my life that I have control over and that give me joy, and that it's a limitless future in those things too. And because I have something else, it makes it feel like the other thing is also not that it's optional, but it's just like it doesn't feel like my one and only. And
Yes.
therefore, when things are a little awry, like that's okay. We're just gonna keep going forward. And when I really have to like think about like why do I not feel burned out? And there's I think several things that lead to that, but I think it's because it's not just a singular thing.
Yes, and that was the other thing that helped me too is thinking about the people you love are really what matters most, your friends and family. There are so many things that you are outside of what you do to receive a paycheck. All my eggs weren't in one basket like it felt like.
Mhm.
And then, yeah, especially having that comfort of even if I'm not an engineer someday, that is okay. And really, it could be better than okay. It could be exactly what I need in that moment.
You are still, even if you're not, like you said, working as an engineer, like you are still an engineer. And I think I say that I think of that when I talk about my dad. Because I
Mhm.
sometimes will say, like, oh, he was a doctor. I'm like, no, he is a doctor. He's just like not working as a doctor, but he is a physician, right? Like
Yeah.
that didn't like go away just because he is no longer clinically practicing anymore. And so even if you tomorrow became a writer, you still are an engineer.
That's funny, I would do the same thing with my dad, and it's because he was such a stereotypical engineer. I would almost say it to people where then it was like, "Oh, that makes sense why Canute is like that."
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
"Oh, that's his engineer brain." I know with your new podcast, on the first episode, you talk a lot about how you even started that and then, like, how you got to why is it called I did my own research. I definitely want to be able to hype this up, so if you just wanna share more about the podcast that you started.
Over the past year, I've been on a lot more podcasts, and so I just really enjoyed the process of, like, getting to chat with people. Especially in content creation, unless you live in a major city, you just never get to talk to other people like you do, in other jobs, and so it was always just me
Yeah.
talking to my phone, and my content online really a lot of times revolves around medical misinformation. I really there's a big undertone in the world of medical content and people making content around medicine that aren't physicians or other healthcare professionals, where people are misguiding people online. And what we see as clinicians when we're trying to guide our patients with evidence-based medicine is that they say, well, I did my own research, right? I saw this in a Facebook group, I saw this on Twitter, I saw this TikTok that says that like an induction is the worst thing you could ever do for you and pitocin is the devil and I decline vitamin K for my baby because they did their own research. And it's like, I wish you could talk to someone who actually does real research, who understands, like, real research is really, really hard. And so the phrase I did my own research is actually like a little bit triggering, I think, to most clinicians. And that's why I kind of loved it.
Yeah.
It's just a little bit sassy to be like, I know you think you did your own research. What you did was educate yourself with misinformation online. Someone is like purposely misguiding you, but they're really good at it. And so my podcast is talking to other medical content creators about what they're seeing in their fields of medicine and science. And so today I interviewed a registered dietitian who has a PhD in nutrition.
Incredible.
I interviewed a pharmacist who talks about over the counter medication. I interviewed a sleep doctor to talk about like the myths that we see online when it comes to how to get better sleep. And so it's just really um, talking about how medical misinformation online gets the views, how it's so easy to share viral misinformation, but the challenging of that misinformation is really difficult to do to still get views, but be able to capture the nuance. And so I've just have really enjoyed having those conversations with other content creators and what are they seeing in their fields, and also some education along the way. Like I had a geriatrician come on to talk about things that we can actually do for longevity and not just like injecting these like unregulated peptides into our bodies, but what does the evidence show? And it's like just things like once you start to be in midlife, you should get your hearing checked because if your hearing is bad, you have a highly increased risk of developing dementia.
Hmm.
No one's telling you that in a TikTok because it's not fun. It's much more fun to talk about injecting NAD, but the reality is that if everyone got their hearing checked at 55, you'd probably decrease everyone's rate of dementia, but that's a boring TikTok.
The algorithm isn't going to eat that up. The
No.
other thing I love too, because I have listened to every episode,
Oh, thanks.
I love too that you also have this angle of, how do we as professionals in the field, like how in a sense did we also contribute to this?
Yeah.
And what can we do differently going forward? And I love the lens of it so much, and it's so needed, especially at this moment in time.
I think it would be wrong for us not to acknowledge our part in that, right? Because if we just blamed it on everyone else and took no responsibility for the fact that our appointment times are shorter, we have to see more patients, we have more things to do, we have to spend more time in the EMR than like looking at you and educating, then we can never fix it because we can't change any of the things that we're doing. And so I do think, as hard as it is, because I know how hard everyone is working in their job, you do have to, even if you can't control it, step outside of it a little bit and be like, but can I control even just the smallest part of this? Because you probably can spend 2 more seconds educating. You can reassure someone without making them feel gaslit. You can acknowledge their concerns and then explain why that imaging study isn't indicated rather than saying like, no, we're not going to do that. So
Yes.
um, we'll never fix it if we don't also acknowledge our parts in all of that.
Well, and taking some inspiration from I did my own research, I also have some rapid fire questions for you if you would be down for it.
I'm ready.
Sweet tooth or salty cravings?
Oh, salty cravings. I will choose a cheeseburger 100% of the time.
Same, totally. Like, get out of my face with the sweets. Yay or nay on daylight savings time?
Oh, nay.
Thank you.
This is a terrible decision. Like, let me just live when the sun is out. Okay, like, this back and forth is terrible.
It's totally terrible. The meanest online comment you've ever gotten?
Oh my gosh, so many good ones to choose from. I mean, there was the, godless woman who believes in science one. That is still a personal
Yes,
favorite of mine on Facebook. Someone came on and said, "This clearly is a godless woman who only believes in her own science." And I said, "That's so true." And then I put it on a t-shirt.
so on brand for you. What about some of the kindest comments?
I mean, I think it's just when people share that, like, I was able to help them in some parts of their lives in one way or another. And I always say with, like, medical content creation is that in real life, I can go, like, take care of 20 patients in one day, right? But online, I can help millions, and I have seen that over the years that, people will say, like, "I got my tubes removed because of you. I had the induction I wanted because of you. I got IUD pain management because I knew to ask for it." So, I really couldn't narrow it down to a singular thing, but anytime anyone takes the couple of seconds to share, like, that I was able to help them in one way. Even today, actually, someone from band messaged me and said, "Hey, I was looking at IUD insertion tips. I found your videos and I just wanted to say thank you because I feel so much more informed now." And I was like, wow, like, I haven't seen you in 14 years, but I'm like so happy that like my little video was able to like help you through something that you were scared about and looking for information about. So yeah, not a singular thing, but
Yeah,
just those little that when people take the time to like reach out and like say like, "Hey, you helped with this," like really is like such a nice thing.
I love that so much. Your favorite memory from marching in UW band?
I got to go to the Rose Bowl. And so I think probably the last halftime show I ever got to do. It was
Yeah.
just so sentimental. It's the thing that you hear about your entire time in band is like the getting to go to the Rose Bowl. And I was so grateful that my last one was at the Rose Bowl. And so I think that one.
Funniest Mike Lacroneism. And for listeners who don't know, he was our director when we were in UW marching band.
I do think like, moments of happiness sticks with me a lot. And I think in medicine, especially, and that floats over into my mind a lot, those moments of happiness, because like you work so hard for all these things and then you just get those moments. You work 1,000 hours for those 4 minutes of happy, but like it was worth it. I got to deliver my nephew. I worked 10,000 hours for like that moment of happy. Like that one sticks with me.
So incredible. I also love the you can do anything as long as you know when it will end,
Yeah.
because I've found that to be very true.
Yeah. I do yell, "If it were easy, anyone could do it," at my kids a lot. Like, when Penny's, like,
Yes.
learning to ride her bike, she's like, "This is hard." I was like, "Yeah, and you can do hard things, and if it were easy,
Right.
anyone could do it."
Yeah.
So,
She can do
yeah,
hard things. I
she
love
can do
that.
hard things. So, yeah, I tell her you can do hard things a lot, like, I
Yes,
like to, like, drain it into her little 6-year-old brain, like, "You can do hard
totally.
things."
Love it. Um, Final rapid fire question. Moonshot guest list for I did my own research.
Okay, I really want Dr. Mike, who is a physician who's like the OG like medical content creator. And then I want Mama Dr. Jones, who's like our OG
Yes.
OBGYN content
Yes.
creator. I could just message them and ask them. I just haven't yet because I need to be brave and I can do hard things. I just need to go do
You
it.
can do hard things.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, we'll wrap it up here. So, final question for you. What would you tell to someone who feels like they don't belong? And what gives you hope about the future of medicine and just the realm of STEM in general?
If you feel like you're in a place that you don't belong, one, there's probably someone else who feels that way. And so go be their friend and then you create your own place that you want to be. But also, you don't always have to accept everything. So if you don't have to be there and you can go somewhere else, you should because like, you know what I've learned is that life is like way too short. I don't know if it's cuz like we're in our late 30s and mortality is like there, but
Yeah,
like this you only get one life. And so if that place doesn't serve you and you can leave, like you should because what are you waiting for? It's not going to get better. So you don't have to accept anything that isn't right for you. And the thing that gives me hope is that our future generations of medicine are coming in a place where they are so much more aware of the world and the people around them and the people they take care of and really step outside of themselves to help and guide people. And I think medicine really is trying to find ways to raise physicians who aren't crispy and burnt out all the time. You have to work really hard, but you're also people. And I think we're trying to find a way to balance all those things. And I think that will only lead to better and stronger clinicians.
absolutely. Ah, Dr. Fran, thank you so much for being on Technical Rigor. It means the world to me. Love you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for listening to Technical Rigor. Follow us at Technical Rigor, and if you have any comments, suggestions, or people we should interview, please email us at technicalrigor@gmail.com. If you liked what you heard, please like, rate, review, and subscribe anywhere you get your podcast. I know, oh my gosh, we're like doing so good on time. Sorry, you can cut that out, Lauren. She's like, yeah, I know.
It's so
Yeah.
funny because I almost didn't apply to that school because I had gone to Erie, Pennsylvania for the women's hockey championship game with the UW marching band. And we
That's
went to
right.
Erie, Pennsylvania, and I was like, the Erie, Pennsylvania is terrible. And like, no shade to Erie, but like, it still wasn't much better when I went to school there.
This has been a 2Max production.